Welcome to Coffee Nick's Movie Picks, a bold blend of coffee and movie review podcasting. My name is Nick Delaney, and I'm your show host, coffee snob, film reviewer, and the guy who is ready to ditch pumpkin spice as the predominant fall flavor and turn to maple. Today, we are getting scandalous with a refreshingly critical review of Anora, the most recent film from visionary director Sean Baker and the cause of much online anticipation and hype. We will be pairing this film discussion with a review of the Maple Cardamom Latte from Goose Cup in Leesburg, Virginia. Please sit back, relax, and let's talk about a flawed marriage. But first, please be sure to follow at Coffee Nick's Movie Picks on Instagram and TikTok. There you can stay up to date on new releases, see coffee pictures that go along with each and every episode, get some quick movie thoughts from yours truly, and submit Dear Coffee Nick letters. Again, that's at Coffee Nick's Movie Picks on Instagram and TikTok. Oh my gosh, hello everyone. I hope that everyone is doing well. Depending on when this episode comes out, which I think it won't matter when it comes out, I have a feeling that people are still not doing super hot, just given what has happened in the past week in our country. So because of that, and because, I had this discussion on the previous episode, which was for Smile 2 and Trap, I just want to do a check-in right here. And I want to say that for many of us, me included, this past week has been incredibly dark, troubling, frustrating, and just overall discouraging to see. I just wanted to use this space to say that we have each other and we need to support each other. Now, more than ever, it is so important for us to support one another, to listen to one another, and to uplift one another. And I feel that we need to do this today so that tomorrow, when important discussions and decisions need to be had and made, we are ready to keep fighting for our futures. I think that supporting one another is very important. I think that when you see someone that you care about that is sort of enshrouded in darkness or down in the dumps, I guess is the easier way to say it, I think it is your duty as someone close to them to kind of point out the silver linings and to point towards something hopeful and to something bright. I think that it is our duty to care for each other like this when we see each other like this. Someone who will champion you at your best and then be there to support you also at your lowest. I think it is completely okay and in fact healthy to feel and explore our emotions right now, maybe even to just sit with them. I'm not saying to wallow in your emotions and to get lost in your emotions, but to sit with your emotions and just, have them visit you for however long they need to stay. But I think it's also important for us not to lose focus of the goals we have in mind for our society and what we want to achieve, even if it feels like we are about to be taking 15 steps back, maybe even 1,000 steps back. I think it's very important to not lose sight of what our goals are today and to not compromise later on and say like, okay, well, we went like 15 steps back. It's not about 5 steps forward. It's about, I want to go 20 steps forward. Like I want to go back to where we were and further. I think it's very important not to lose sight of what our goals are today. I also think it's very important to not forget how we feel right now, because eventually these feelings will be what empowers us to have important discussions in the future. So bookmark these feelings for yourself. I'm not saying to bottle them up or to hang on to them in an unhealthy way, but do some journaling. Write about how you're feeling now, because these emotions are very important and they're coming from very real things. Or, put them into whatever art form you have or whatever system you have to, sort of record your emotions. It can be different things for a lot of people. I think like podcasting like this or my journal that I keep and everything. So all of this to say, please look out for one another. Don't lose sight of the future that you want to see today. And also, I'm here for you all. This is a lot happening, and it's very discouraging. It's very easy to fall into like a very negative mindset. but we have each other and we can help each other. And there's still work that needs to be done. Yeah, that's all I have to say. I'm here for all of you. If anyone needs to like rant in my Instagram DMs or wherever, please go right on ahead. I hope you don't rant about like how bad this podcast is and it's about like something that like I have no control over. If you want to give me feedback, that's okay too. But I am definitely here. I'm here to listen. I'm here to support. And sometimes I may even ask that of a close friend. So yes, there it is. I wanted to do a check-in. It felt only right. I guess what I've been doing, I've just been relaxing. I have been focused on just, not working, which has been really nice. I'm saying like outside of work. I have to specify, I guess. I've been focused on not working and just like going home and playing video games. And I've been focused on not spending as much time on my phone, which I'm going to talk about in my coffee thought. Now that I think about it, I have something to talk about there. I've been focused on not spending as much time on my phone. I've been focused on spending time with like media that brings me a lot of joy. I have been drinking a lot of coffee to comfort myself, which has been nice. Been going to my favorite coffee places in DC. Of course, I've been escaping to the movies. Of course, I saw Memoir of a Snail, which I don't know if I'm going to be reviewing on this podcast, but so good and I cried so much. And what else did I see? I saw Werewolf in London. Oh no, An American Werewolf in London. That was really good. That was a big surprise to me. What else? Anora, of course, which I'm about to be talking about. And I guess the last sort of moment I've been having is I've been playing a lot of the new Zelda game. I I know this came out in like September, but I'm still sort of like working on it. And I have like 25 hours on the game. Like I'm spending so much time with it. And I'm not done yet. I'm still working on it. But I've even thought about doing a review on this podcast for the new Zelda game, which is called Echoes of Wisdom. As a lifelong Zelda fan, it is spectacular. And it is so refreshing. I just love how this game, like, all of the Zelda games have like a really great story. It's one of the best Nintendo franchises in terms of story. And every little like region that you go to, every little dungeon area, you meet like people, and all of the people like have different issues going on, and some are really emotional. It's just great. And Zelda as a main character is just so cool. And I hope we see this again from Nintendo. So yeah, maybe I'll do a whole review on that. That was a little preview. We'll see what my schedule looks like moving forward. But there's some exciting things to come with this podcast. I mentioned before that there will be a Christmas series. There will be more information on that in the future. And I'm planning one more episode to be released before that Christmas series happens. And I'm very excited about that episode as well. It will be a first for this podcast. Don't get your hopes up, but yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be cool. Okay, let's focus. Let's get moving to our first segment, Now Brewing, which is a luxury coffee discussion and review segment. Now brewing on today's episode is the Maple Cardamom Latte from Goose Cup in Leesburg, Virginia. A little bit about Goose Cup. This is an all-day cafe and roastery that also specializes in cocktails, natural wines, and some foods. Y'all know I also love to use this space to say like what their mission is and like what makes them unique and different, but they did not have that on their website, which by the way was beautifully designed. So I'm just gonna give my own little spiel here. I thought that the atmosphere in this cafe was stunning and very standout. It had like super high ceilings and also this really cool minimalist design. The cafe balances the minimalist style with being a cozy coffee shop, which I appreciate, and I think that's two really hard things to balance. Cozy coffee shops, I usually think of like big cushy sofas and like warm lamps and little knickknacks everywhere, but this made it more of a minimal vibe, which was really cool. And the inside of Goose Cup just feels really artsy. I really liked it. And also, it was a warm and inviting atmosphere too. In addition, when I went, there was a vendor selling plants and plant holders outside the store, which was just really cute and added to this ambiance that I loved. So overall, Goose Cup seems great. I only tried one drink here, but I would definitely go back here if I was in the area. It was so lovely. So a little bit about the maple cardamom latte. So this was made with a double shot of espresso, maple, cardamom, of course, and oat milk. This was delicious. It was beautifully foamed, and the flavors were all very fresh and very real. When you got to the bottom of the latte, you could see that they actually had like the spices ground up. This was not just like a Torani syrup that they put in. It was real flavor that I would venture to assume they made in-house. I really appreciate that. The super processed sugary syrups, it cannot be good for you. And corporate cafes and like chain coffee shops have made it so normal to put like 6 to 10 pumps of those syrups in like one cup of coffee. And it can't be good for you. And it also just like, moves you so far away from what like real flavors, real ingredients taste like. So it's really refreshing to have like just a very natural maple, cardamom, and cinnamon taste in this. Other than that, I actually don't have much to say about the coffee itself other than it's great. I think I'm just using this drink because I would like to discuss and show my appreciation for maple flavors in coffee. Maple flavored coffee is something that I've only been seeing very recently, surprisingly enough. You think this would be like much bigger. Maybe it's big in like Canada or something, but it's not. I really haven't seen it that much. And like the huge corporate coffee shops really haven't picked up on this yet either. But I think that maple coffee is the biggest missed opportunity in the fall from what I've collected, what I've gathered, my research. I have had maple coffee here and there uh, in the fall, and it is so good and it's never missed, really. And this is a fall flavor that I feel like has not been taken advantage enough yet. But I'm scared of what would happen if it was. Pumpkin spice has gone, it's fallen so far from God's graces. Like we have pumpkin spice flavored ramen, pumpkin spice flavored yogurt, toothpaste, probably condoms. And I would hate to see another flavor fall victim to this capitalist ploy. But I think that maple needs to be the next big thing. I think that we have gotten less and less creative with our seasonal flavors. Like, holidays come around and okay, bring out the peppermint mocha again, bring out the gingerbread. Where is like something a little bit more creative, like a cranberry orange or like a merry mint? That's not creative. They do that all the time. But you know what I'm saying? Or like in the fall, like where is the maple? Where is the cardamom? Where is I don't know. I'm not paid to think about this. Are you? All I'm saying is we time and time again, year and year again, we roll out the same flavors, at least at the corporate level. And I think it's time to mix it up a bit. And I'm not saying that these flavors, the popular flavors, are wrong. And I, in fact, enjoy them thoroughly. I'm just saying they need to sort of take a back seat and we need to have a new diva on the front lines. Someone like Miss Maple, I think, could carry the weight, the burden of seasonal flavors. So I would like to see Maple make her moves next year. I think it's a little late. We're already into holiday flavors now. Miss Maple, I think 2025 fall is your year to shine. But I came to this conclusion because of this latte I had at Goose Cup Coffee. But of course, there were many maple lattes I had before this instance that led me to this conclusion. One of which was a corporate coffee shop that had a maple drink, and that was Pete's Coffee, which, if you are a longtime Coffee Next Movie Picks fan, you know that Pete's Coffee is immortalized in my heart. It is my favorite corporate coffee shop, if not just coffee shop. Pete's Coffee is so good. They never miss for me. Their coffee by itself just is delicious. They have a maple drink this year that was so good. And then quite some time ago, about a year ago, I visited my dear friend in Boston and she took me to a coffee shop that I believe is called Bomb Dough, and they had a salted maple cold brew. That I have clearly not stopped thinking about since I had it. That was good. So I think it's time for us to progress in the coffee industry. Yes, we will always have pumpkin spice and peppermint mocha, but let's see some new bombshells enter the Villa. I don't want, what is that from? I think it's Love Island, but I'm not sure. Um, yes, so that's what I have to say. The maple cardamom latte from Goose Cup was spectacular and brought me to this conclusion. I had like a Jimmy Neutron brain blast when I drank this. I am going to give this latte from Goose Cup the Nick pick. Goose Cup is a beautifully designed and cozy coffee shop that serves delicious, artistically crafted drinks. The maple cardamom latte features fresh and complementary flavors that don't drown out the coffee or beautifully foamed milk. Definitely go to Goose Cup if you're looking for a little weekend getaway or a fall treat, perhaps. I have not been to Leesburg prior to this, I think. And I did not know that it was so cute. This little area that Goose Cup was in was so nice. I really liked it. And I think like Leesburg is very like suburban, but it seemed to have like, all the bells and whistles. So if you are like me living in DC or just want to get away somewhere, try Leesburg. Just take a little trip out to Goose Cup, especially like seeing the changing fall leaves. It'll be a nice little drive. Put on some fall albums, which we're getting into the coffee thought anyways. So I'll just enter the segment now. So Coffee Thought is an outlet dedicated to voice my many incoherent thoughts over a lovely cup of coffee. This is not my coffee thought for today, but fall albums. Taylor Swift is a huge artist to listen to in the fall. We have Evermore and Red, and I argue Fearless is a fall album. But this fall specifically, I have been listening to overwhelming amounts of Fiona Apple. So much. And the dangerous thing about Fiona Apple's music is I never get tired of it. And it's always like, it always feels new. It's always a new experience, I think. Just because her lyrics and her music is so jam packed with like so much significance and meaning that I can just take so much away from it. So thank you, Fiona Apple. I've also been listening to a lot of Ethel Cain, especially Inbred, her EP, and I am eagerly awaiting her new album in January. And I've been listening to a lot of Mitski. Love Mitski. I love The Land is Inhospitable, and so are we. That is an amazing album and perfect for the fall. Now, my real coffee thought today is dumb phones. Like a smartphone, but it's dumb. How did I slip down this rabbit hole? I saw, what is his name? Jesse from Breaking Bad. What is the actor's name? Aaron, Aaron Paul. Aaron Paul. I follow him on Instagram, and he was saying, I'm taking a break from everything and I'm getting a light phone. And I was like, what? I was like, what is a light phone? So he tagged light phone, and I clicked on light phone, and I discovered that it is a minimalist, which I'm using that word a lot in this episode, I'm realizing. It is a minimalist phone. So it's not a smartphone, but it's also not like the archaic flip phone you're thinking of. It's almost like a really small Kindle, and all it can do is make phone calls, text, listen to music, listen to podcasts. It has maps on it, but only directions. Like it tells you turn right here, turn left here. It doesn't show you like an actual map as far as I know. I think you can take notes, and the new one coming out in January has a camera so you can take pictures. But that's it. and it's completely restricted. And also, it's just like a Kindle, it has electronic ink screen. So it kind of looks like that paper feel, and it doesn't have any sort of brightness. You have to actually like look at it, in a lighted setting. You can't just like wake up in bed and have it light up. So it is like a modern phone, but it's not a smartphone. So people call them dumb phones. I was so shocked by this. And just like seeing the phone, I was like, wow, this is so cool. And it's like a whole lifestyle. I mean, they're off social media. They're, don't have the entire internet or emails in their pocket. And this is crazy for me to think about because I was just, a kid when smartphones came out. So it's kind of like always been around for me and everything. I only faintly remember when smartphones were not a thing. So this is just really cool for me to see. And I also really like the fact that it's not like you're just going off social media forever entirely, because that's what I worry about. For this podcast, I like to use social media a lot. And then obviously for my job, I work in marketing. So social media is huge and I have to stay up to date on trends and everything. But I thought about it and I'm like, well, you could just like use Instagram on your laptop and like open the web browser for it. So, and I thought about like that really helps restrict the presence of social media in your life, I think. It is restricted to when you sit down and intentionally go on it, like in an office setting. And it's sort of just confined in your life. I feel like with a smartphone, social media just like has complete control and like you can look at it anywhere you go. I mean, you can, but it's just sort of unregulated. It's in your pocket. It's going everywhere with you. And I love that this, dumb phones kind of forces you to compartmentalize social media back into like little boxes where it's like, okay, I'll log on and see what's up with everyone now. It's not just like constantly present in your life. I think that's so cool. I don't know if I could do it, but it's cool. So I saw this on Aaron Paul's page, and of course, like led me to do all these searches, and like I was watching YouTube videos where people were like, I lived with the light phone for a month. And then I looked further into it, and of course, I reached the gates of Reddit, a scary place to be. And I opened the gates and I looked through the Reddit dumb phones community subreddit, I think it's called. And there are so many dumb phones out there. This is like a thing. And there's a ton of people like in this community that have given up smartphones and sort of refused smartphones from controlling their lives any further. And now social media and, the internet is sort of just like this regulated, controlled thing in their life. And it's not their entire life. And I don't know. I am so fascinated by this and that the light phone was a thing and I had no idea. Um and yeah, would you do this? Would you do this? I'm the type of person where it's like I think I really want to, but then I think when I pull the trigger and actually do it, I'm like really gonna regret it and I'll go through withdrawals. And I don't know, it just seems so intimidating, especially like with what I do. I don't know how feasible it is, but this was like a huge thing. And this also led me to discover that there's electronic ink computer monitors. So like your whole computer monitor is sort of just not a screen and it's like this electronic ink material, like a Kindle, which those are really expensive, but you could, there's also ways to just give up screens entirely. And I don't know, it's kind of hopeful to hear this too, where like, maybe our entire society isn't just going to like be on smartphones for the rest of time until the world ends. Like maybe there is a way to sort of like control the presence of technology in our lives. So this was really interesting to me. I'll keep you all updated if I actually make the move over to a dumb phone. I don't think I will anytime soon, at least, but I also saw that there are ways to sort of dip your toes in the water. So you can either get a whole device and be officially restricted to that device like until you go back to getting a smartphone, but they also have like modifications that you can put on your smartphone that really restricts it as well. There is this thing called the brick. And basically, when you tap your phone on this little panel, this tile, it turns off a lot of features on your phone. So it will restrict you from going to apps like social media or dating apps or the internet or anything like that. And it will, basically become a dumb phone. All you'll be able to do is make calls, use GPS. You can select what apps you can still use. And you can't access anything. You can't delete the Brick app from your phone. You can't disable like you're like, oh, I just want to check Instagram once, I'll turn it back on. You can't. Like you have to either set the time and stick to it, or you turn it off indefinitely, and then you tap the brick again. It'll turn those apps back on. So there's like a lot of different, methods to this dumb phone thing, and it's just very interesting to me. And we will see. I did put the brick on my Christmas list, so we'll see. Maybe if I get it, I'll play around with this dumb phone lifestyle. Anyways, that is enough of that nonsense. Let's get to our Now Showing segment. Now Showing is our feature ideological analysis and critical film review segment by yours truly. Anora is the story of a young sex worker, played by Mikey Madison, whose life is turned upside down when she meets and spontaneously marries Ivan, the son of extremely wealthy Russians. When the parents find out about this scandalous marriage, they threaten to collect their son from the States. Afraid to have his parents' wealth stripped from him, Ivan disappears. The film is directed by Sean Baker, known for also directing The Florida Project and Red Rocket. This film was highly, highly anticipated. At Cannes Film Festival, I am pretty sure that it won the highest honor, which I think is called the Palme d'Or, but I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, so I didn't want to say that out the gate. But aside from that, Sean Baker is also just a highly accredited director, which I think is very warranted. Florida Project is one of the best movies of all time. I have not seen Tangerine or Red Rocket, but those are also very beloved and cherished movies by many people. And I know if I did watch those, I would love them. So this film was highly, highly anticipated on social media for those reasons. Personally, I was very excited to see this movie. I wrote one of my final papers in college on the Florida Project, which I know I say that about a lot of movies. I did that for The Batman and Barbarian and all of Greta Gerwig's movies. But this one, Florida Project, I did as well. So yeah, this movie I was very excited for. I think the trailers like made it out to be really cool looking. And I will be upfront in saying that I think that Anora is incredibly overhyped. I do not think this should have been placed in sort of the same category as Florida Project, at least, because that's the only one I've seen. This movie, I think, okay, I'll start with this. This movie is extremely energetic and fun the whole way through. And it is also excellently acted. I think that Mikey Madison is spectacular in this role. And this role also takes so much. She has to be so physically and emotionally vulnerable in this movie because of the character of Annie, who is a sex worker. She has to, do a lot. And there is just like a lot of scenes in this movie with very intense, like screaming and kicking and fighting. And, I if I had to do that, I would be tired. And, just knowing that she probably had to do so many different takes of that, this role was probably exhausting, but she did spectacularly throughout the whole film. And I think that Mikey Madison did the best with what she was given. A lot of the problems I have with this film is with how the film was portrayed in the previews, and then what the film did with its own premise. I'll start with the premise because preview, I don't think I shouldn't judge this film based on what was in the previews because different people make that. The first half of this movie is great. I love the first half. I think that it is so fun and energetic, like I said. And it just does so much, and I was really obsessed with watching it the first half. And it's just doing like so many crazy things, and it's very exciting and everything. It's a little bit past the second half, towards the third act, that I think the movie and the plot just starts hitting a wall, and everything is sort of stagnant for quite a while. It feels like it's about 20 to 30 minutes that this film is just sort of like, it's just very repetitive and it's not doing anything new. And like I said in the description, this happens when Ivan disappears. He finds out that his parents are coming from Russia to take him away and sort of punish him for getting spontaneously married to Anora. So he runs away to sort of escape his parents, but also the responsibilities of now being married to Anora. So for the next 20 to 30 minutes, maybe even longer, the film is just sort of like Anora hanging out with these guys who are friends with the parents, who are watching over Ivan. And they take her along after much sort of like fighting and drama. They take her along and they're looking all over New York City for Ivan. And that's it. That's it for like about 30 minutes. And, I don't know if this is a spoiler or not, but they find him in no special circumstances. They just find him, and it's like, okay, well, like, let's go back to him dealing with his parents getting there and everything. Um, and, when you spend that much time in the plot of trying to find a character, I feel like the more time you're putting in, the more your audience is expecting a payoff of sorts. So the fact that we spent so much time looking for Yvonne and they just end up finding him, it it was just sort of like a letdown for me. Um, and I feel like at the second half is when this movie just really loses me. Um, like I said, there's sort of like this hitting the wall with the plot. But I also started to notice that there's really nothing we know about the character of Annie or Honora. The movie really doesn't tell us much about her, other than like she doesn't get along well with her roommate. I think she's 21, no, 23 years old, and her grandma was Russian. So that's how she knows like a little bit of Russian. She can't speak it, but she can like listen to it and understand. That is really all we ever know about Annie, I think. So I think that it's really hard for this film to be nuanced because these characters aren't nuanced and they're at least not given the time or sort of the exposition to be nuanced. There's no sort of like explanation with Annie, I feel like. Of At least not that I noticed. Maybe I missed something. But I feel like there needed to be more explained about her. Maybe like something about the grandma, because I was expecting that to go somewhere like the grandma knew Russian a little bit, so Annie knows Russian. I was expecting that to go somewhere, but it never did really. And the one thing I really liked about this movie, or that I think had like something really good going for it, was the final shot. I thought the final sequence shot moment was very powerful and very nuanced and profound. But I think that because there was no nuance in the rest of the film and these characters, there wasn't really any time given to giving these characters depth. I think that this moment, the final moment in the film, it is hard to make sense of because it's like, okay, well, I don't know if I know this character, so I don't know if I know what this means. Like, I want to be able to interpret this moment, this final shot, but I don't feel like I have the tools to interpret that. And this is really frustrating because this is a almost 2.5 hour long movie. And I feel like I just like said the entire plot, or at least like all the depth here. So it's a almost 2.5 hour movie, but it doesn't spend any time giving these characters depth. Like I think maybe in the 20 or 30 minutes we spent with Honora and these men searching for Yvonne, I think that we could have like maybe done some exposition there or like, dug a little deeper on sort of the backstory, but we didn't. So it just makes like this very profound moment in the end, sort of like not make sense and feel very unwarranted and unearned by the movie. Like I don't think the movie did enough work to reach that ending or to earn that ending. So these are all very hot takes. A lot of people love this movie. I've been seeing a lot of five-star reviews for it, but I just didn't get that from this. I didn't. I think that this movie was so fun, chaotic, energetic, and like I said, the performance from Mikey Madison was wonderful. But it just really dropped off for me after the halfway point, I think. I think that the plot just like really became stagnant, which I was so surprised about. I mentioned another thing I want to talk about is the trailer. I think the trailer for this film was great. But I want to talk about this because several things are in this trailer that are made out to be very big, but are not. I remember in the trailer seeing like, sort of lines about like, oh, well, like, what do your parents do? Or there was a line about like, oh, yeah, I know a little bit of Russian. My grandma knows it. Um, or like Yvonne running away was painted out to be like this huge dramatic thing in the trailer. But none of those things end up meaning anything in the movie. We never learn anything about Anora's grandmother. I feel like that's the thing with this movie. Talking about it, I feel like maybe I do know, but I just forgot. It's like I should know all of these things, but I don't think the movie tells it to you. Like we should know these things about Honora's grandmother. I feel like we should know more about like what Yvonne does. Maybe I just feel this way because the trailer told me to go into this movie asking these questions. Um, but these are things like clearly not answered by the movie. I remember I do know that when Honora did ask that, like, well, what do your parents do? Yvonne was like, oh, you've never heard of my parents? And he was like, just Google them and look. And we see Honora Googling them, and she's just like, oh my God. But we never know what that means. We don't know what they do really. We don't know if it's like illegal. We don't know if they're like huge government officials. We don't know anything. So all of these things that were painted out to be sort of like mysteries or questions we should be asking about the movie end up going unanswered. And I'm someone that doesn't like to see trailers for this very reason, but when I go to the movies, I see the trailers. So all of this sort of contributes to just like an overall mixed feeling I have about the movie, and you could probably see where my review is going. I know this episode is going to be one of my hotter takes, and I'm so sorry, and I hope this does not taint the rest of my reviews or me as a reviewer. But this is just how I felt. I talked to some of my friends about the movie, and a lot of them felt the same way I did after I talked to them about it. And that sort of empowered me to make this review. I wasn't planning on doing a review for Anora, but I was like, okay, well, people aren't talking about it the same way I am, so maybe that means I should be the one to talk about it. I'm going to give Anora the Nick mix. For the first half of the film, Anora is an energetic, fun, and interesting movie. Towards the second half, however, I felt that the story kept hitting a wall and experienced some trouble in furthering the plot. Most of the time, Anora is a fun, excellently performed film, but it's void of any nuance until the very end, when nuance feels unearned and out of place. In the end, I don't think Anora ever lets its audiences get to know who Anora actually is. With all of that being said, I do recommend the movie. I think it is a lot of fun and it's worth watching. It's just when we bring this to a critical level, I think I have a lot of critiques. So yeah, it's great. I don't think it's bad by any means, but it's definitely very overrated. To me, at least. Today we do have some Dear Coffee Nick letters, and I'm very excited because I feel like I haven't done this one in a while. But in this segment, I read some letters from fellow coffee and movie enjoyers about their own coffee and movie opinions, reviews, thoughts, hot takes, or whatever. This first message is from Kelsey. Hello, Kelsey. I hope you're doing well. Thank you for this message. Um, okay, this message says, OMG, I have so many thoughts and so many stupid things to say, but I feel like I need to prepare an entire dissertation. Please do that. Please do that. I would love to read, like, I would do a dramatic reading of your stupid dissertation on this podcast. It could be like a whole episode, really. So please get to writing. I would love to do a dramatic reading of what you have to say. Okay, this message is from Sophie. Hello, Sophie. And this says, I saw the Trin Levels review of Juno, and I'm curious about your thoughts on the movie. I don't know who Trin Level is, so I might have pronounced that wrong. In case I did, I'm sorry. Juno, though, I love Juno. I think that Juno is a great movie. I cry every time I watch it. I love the performances here. I think that Elliot Page is amazing in this movie. Michael Cera, of course, and then there's the two parents. Those are also excellent performances. They're two famous actors, and I can't think of them now for some reason. But that movie is so great, and I've seen it so many times. It's a little like it's kind of corny. Like I feel like the dialogue is a little dated, but it's also like a sign of the time. I think it's dated, but it's also like if you look back on an '80s movie, like that dialogue is a little dated too. But that's also just like how they talked back then to some extent. So I think it's the same way with Juno. But I love Juno, and I love the Sabrina Carpenter song as well. Mainly because I like the movie. Whenever a pop song references movies, I'm gonna like that song. Naked in Manhattan by Chappell Roan. I see you. Thank you for that message. I love Juno. Okay, this next one is from Alex, and his message says something stupid. Thank you, Alex. Thank you. When I do this on Instagram, I said, say something stupid for the show. And so Alex just said something stupid. That was so creative. Okay, Mark sent in two messages. This first one says, Nico says, in American Psycho, it was all in Patrick Bateman's head. Unrelated, but related. I don't know who Nico is. And can I say something crazy? I have not seen American Psycho. But I know I need to watch it because Luca Guadagnino is making the remake, and I love Luca Guadagnino. But I know that's another movie that I know I should have seen, but I have not seen. And I'm about to have one of those moments again with your second question, Mark. This message from Mark says, I think Shutter Island is a cool movie, and the twist makes me scared. I have also not seen Shutter Island, but I know people love it. And I know it's supposed to be like a little scurry. I need to watch it. I tried watching it twice, actually, and I fell asleep both times. So I need to watch it in daylight, I think, so I do not fall asleep. But thank you for sending in both of those messages, Mark. I'm sorry I did not have much to add to either of them, but now they're on the show. Okay, this message is from Ben. Hello, bruv. I miss you so, so much. Ben said, You just missed it. The ritual is over. I had my men take her to the island. I cannot do the Resident Evil impression like you can at all. I can do Matelo, Matelo. I can do Where'd everybody go? Bingo? I don't know. Is that what he says? Anyways, that was from Resident Evil 4, which when Ben and I are within a mile radius of each other, we just start quoting Resident Evil 4 endlessly. But Ben does it so much better than me, and he has all the quotes memorized. So thank you for sending that in, Ben. And then this last one is from Jack Farmer. I have to say your full legal name. I'm sorry. Jack Farmer, I miss you so much. I hope you're doing well. Jack Farmer says, Minion or DeBob? Now, for me personally, I always have to go with DeBob. I go with DeBob because, like, when someone is rocking a bob, but like, I love when someone has a bob, and then DeBob, I love DeBob. SpongeBob, grew up with SpongeBob. I grew up with Dominion too. But like, I don't know, SpongeBob the Bob is more embedded into my childhood, into my nostalgia. I think that Dominion came a little later on, so it's not as nostalgic for me. So I'm always going to go with Da Bob for a variety of reasons. Everyone, thank you for sending in those letters. I have to be quite honest. Most of those were quite stupid, but that is what I asked for. So thank you for sending those in. If you would like to send me a letter, please feel free to write Dear Coffee Nick through DM on social media or email coffeenicksmoviepics@gmail.com. This has been a lovely little episode. I am so glad I put this together. I got to talk about a few of my favorite things, those things being my new fascination with dumb phones. I got to talk about coffee, movies, and some of my friends. That's cool. I love doing that. Thank you to those of you that are listening to this show. I have been having so much fun. And you know what? This is the 19th full length episode. We're about to hit 20. That's crazy. And I've had a lot of bonus episodes too, so we're already kind of well past 20. But thank you all for listening. Thank you for tuning in. It means a lot. I have so much fun doing this. If you like what you heard, please be sure to give the show a 5-star rating and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. Follow the show's accounts on social media and share the show with your friends. I would greatly appreciate it. Until next time, I'll be playing my little Zelda game. I'll see you then. Thanks again for listening to Coffee Nick's Movie Picks. Our opening theme is The Moondrops, and our closing theme is March of the Hares, both songs by Nathan Moore. Before you go, please be sure to follow the show on social media at Coffee Nick's Movie Picks on Instagram and TikTok, and give the show the Nick Pick by rating it 5 stars on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Thanks again, and see you next time.